All right, this time of year, most people are focused on getting their finances on track, right? If you want to secure a better future, you have to know the keys to saving, to investing wisely. So here once again with advice, we have Cory Sickles, president of Safe Harbor Retirement Group, in this sponsored segment. Hi, Cory.
Hi, Robin. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. And I am sure that your top advice for people, whether New Year or not, is to save, right? So we're going to kind of talk about that as we head into this new year. In saving early, right? The benefits of that, because those cannot be kind of undervalued, right, Cory?
You know, the earlier you start, actually the less you have to save in order to have the retirement that you want. So I would highly recommend, if you can, try to save 10 to 15% per year.
Okay.
Here's the one thing I will say, if you're younger, you want to buy a house, you have kids, you got to save for college.
Sure. It's
so important to save something for retirement. And that's why I think, working with an advisor, we can show you how to maybe do that, because, $50 or $100 or $150 a month over 20 years adds up to a lot.
And I think that is it. Sometimes people feel like it's too overwhelming
Right.
at all, so I'm not going to save anything. And the compound of that money is just like immense,
It's
right?
exactly right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so let's talk about 401k matching plans. A lot of companies have them. They're not as robust maybe as they used to be, but what do you want people to know about taking advantage of those?
Well, you definitely want to be able to put in what they match. Whether it's 2%, 3%, 4%, whatever it is, you have to be able to put it in there. The way I always look at it, would you make 4% less per year?
If you had a choice,
if you had a
right?
choice,
Yeah.
right? Everyone wants to maximize what they make. So make sure that you're putting in what they match, because that's free money that you're giving up. And again, that just adds up, that 3-4% just adds up over time.
What about those who are not getting matching funds? Sometimes it can be hard to maybe realize how much they need to save.
Sure.
Then when there's not a match in it.
You can always contribute, open up your own IRA, or even open up your Roth IRA. I'm a firm believer in the Roth IRA because it's after-tax money. It grows tax-free, and when you retire, you don't have to worry about paying taxes on that ever again.
What do you say to people? Because I know people sometimes with the Roth, they're like, well, why would I pay the taxes now? Why would I pay them now? Why is that a good idea?
Here's the one thing the number one thing people always tell me is, well, I'm going to be in a lower tax bracket when I retire.
Yeah.
90% of my clients are in the same tax bracket while they were working, because it's your lifestyle.
Yeah,
right?
True.
So if you're in a 20% tax bracket, whatever tax bracket you're in today, 30 years or 20 years from now, is it going to be the same tax bracket? It's not going to be less. If anything, it's probably going to be higher.
Yeah.
So the more money that you can get your hands that's tax-free in retirement, the better off you're going to be.
And speaking of taxes, tax planning is a huge part of what you do for a lot of clients. Any advice for people as they start this year when it comes to planning for taxes?
The only thing I would say is the number one mistake people do is come February and March, they get all their stuff together and they do TurboTax. Maybe they use somebody and they just do your taxes. But are you actually planning on it? Are there ways that I can actually save for next year's, tax planning? Especially if you're a small business, there's things that you can, do. The other part of it is, everyone throws so much money into IRA and thrift savings and 403Bs.
Right.
You might get a little bit of savings today, but in the long run, you're going to pay a lot more in taxes, because it's going to grow tax deferred until you take it out as well.
I want to talk a little about the people who sometimes, when you mention all those things we have to pay for, right? Our kids' college, or maybe we're paying for, childcare, whatever it may be. People tend to cash out on their retirement.
Yep.
They may take some money from that. What is your advice, your thoughts on doing that?
Well, first of all, I would say, before you take money out of a retirement account, talk with someone before you're doing it. I'm not saying talk to your mother, your father, your aunt or uncle, or your sister or brother, right? Talk to an advisor, because it's amazing. If you're under 59 and a half, not only got to pay the taxes, but now you have a 10% penalty on that as well.
Yeah.
And the other part of it is now you're taking away from your future, which is your retirement. So it has to be the last resort.
Right.
We talk about having emergency funds. Build emergency funds so you don't have to do things like that.
All right. So having a financial plan, obviously the benefit in so many ways, but that can also sabotage our retirement if we don't have one. So do you want to tell people, like, no matter where you're at today, no matter what the situation is, like, talk to somebody about this, right?
I think it's the number one thing people should do.
Yeah.
If you don't know where you're going, what do you do if you're driving somewhere? You open up, whether you're using a Google or whether you're using an Apple, you have directions that's going to show you how to get from A to point B. And that's all a financial plan is.
Right.
It's going to show you on where you are today and what is it going to look like when you retire. So, it's the number one thing that you can do is have a financial plan, because that is the roadmap to make sure that you're going to have the successful retirement that you want.
All right, you can do that with Safe Harbor by visiting the website, giving them a call, complimentary meetings, of course. You can see where you're at for 2025 and beyond. Cory, thank you.
Thank you, Robin.